So, welcome to class 5 of the Walking Freedom Formula. And we're still on the elevate step because this has actually 7 signature walks. And today we're looking at the Lightbulb Walk. And the Lightbulb Walk is really crystallized in this quote here, which is that walking opens up the free flow of ideas. And that's actually a quote from a research paper done at Stanford University back in 2014. They did a study into walking and creative thinking. So that comes from that study. And that's really, in a nutshell, what this class is about. It's about walking, opening up the free flow of ideas. Last week, we talked about the Stress Buster walk. So it was all about how to regulate our nervous system, how to slow down, how to use that walking meditation and that forest bathing. So this week, it's slightly different. We're not looking at the problem of your mind being busy. The problem we're looking at is, what do you do when your mind feels stuck? Let's have a quick look at the science to see what that says about creative thinking. So this is that Stanford study that I talked about right at the beginning. So they found that there was a 60%, on average, a 60% increase in creative output when you're walking as opposed to sitting at your desk. So they kind of measured people's brain patterns when they were sitting at their desk and when they were walking. Now, the interesting thing is, this wasn't just walking in nature. This also applied when you're walking on a treadmill, for example, which I just
Wow.
thought when I read that is quite interesting as we're going into, I hate to say, we're going into autumn when the nights draw in. And I know we've already spoken about that. What will we do when we do that? Well, in terms of this walk, in terms of the light bulb walk, you can actually do this one in a gym. So that's quite nice. So basically, the conclusion is that it's movement that matters, get moving. And the creative boost continues even after you've stopped moving. So
Wow.
basically, yeah, so basically, if you're feeling stuck, get up and start moving. But there was another more recent bit of research, and it was talking more about the kind of thinking that gets stimulated by walking. So the kind of thinking that gets stimulated by walking is divergent thinking, which means exploring options, creating possibilities, kind of new ideas. And has anyone had that experience when you go for a walk, or you may be just walking down the high street and you get back home and you get like a bing, a sudden idea comes to you? Has anyone ever had that experience?
I'm not sure.
Not sure. Okay, we're going to try and create that this week coming. That's basically the light bulb experience. I've definitely had it when I've been walking and suddenly an answer to a problem that I've been cogitating on, not on the walk, but in my life, suddenly I'm like, why don't I do that? And that's divergent thinking. It's kind of 1 plus 1 makes 5, if you like. It's kind
Mm.
of putting different kinds of thinking together, as opposed to convergent thinking, which is when we're really concentrated on something and we're just like evaluating and choosing answers. That's not the kind of thinking that walking really encourages. It's this divergent thinking. Um,
Harriet, just saying that, I was thinking, because I do like creative writing, and when I'm walking, I get ideas for creative writing, and I'm actually writing it in my head. But by the time I get home, when I try to redo that, you can't remember because it was all there. So I'm trying to tell myself I need to dictate to myself when I'm walking so that I capture it. Because by the time I get home and try to capture it again, I can't. But it sounds so good to me when I'm walking. But once I get home to try to recapture what I did, it doesn't, it's not there. So this actually makes sense to me now.
I know exactly what you mean. I've definitely had, I mean, I have that a lot. And what I do is I dictate it into my phone. The moment I have that thought, I'll just
Yes.
dictate it into my phone.
Mm.
And that, what you were saying about you get home and it doesn't quite sound the same. I've had that experience before. For some reason, the ideas flow in a very different way when you're moving. And so when you come back and try and recreate those ideas, it just doesn't gel in the same way.
Wow.
So definitely record it on your phone. And then when you get back, just have a listen to it. You kind of jumped the gun, Mary, because I've got this slide and I apologize for so many hairy men with beards.
Say something.
Yes, you can.
Mary reminded me that I forgot, but when I am walking, what happens is, and I do it without really thinking, I start singing, just singing songs. I sing them, I make them up as I go along, but it usually happens, yeah, when I'm moving. I forgot all about that. I don't
Yeah.
even bother writing them down because I never remember them when I get home. But I, like Mary, it just comes to me, and I just in my head, they're poetry, they're songs, and I just say them out loud. But now you said that, so I can see the link between the movement of your body and the movement of your brain. I can see it now, and
Yes.
I'm going to record it. I'm actually going to record it. So thanks, Mary, and thanks, Harriet.
I think that would be a really, really lovely project, actually, if you just recorded, whether it's poems or songs, because at the end of the program, it's just going to be such a nice um, record
Yes,
of the creativity that's been created. And you never know, there might be some stuff there, so there might be some poetry or some song lyrics that you're like, you know what, I want to work on this a little more. I want to
yeah,
do more with this. So don't lose
yeah,
that creative spark, right? Which is what it is. And that very much relates. Look, we've got Beethoven. He took long
yes.
daily
The
walks.
Beethoven effect.
Exactly. Steve Jobs, right? He did all his thinking about new products and stuff while he was walking. Albert Einstein,
Oh,
if you've seen what's the movie Oppenheimer, and Einstein has kind of got this kind of bit part in Oppenheimer, and he's always shown walking around a pond because that's
ah,
where he thought of his ideas, mathematical ideas. Virginia Woolf, she also walked famously in the South Downs
wow.
and worked out her books there, very much like you, Mary. Charles Dickens, the same thing. I love his quote, actually. If I could not walk far and fast, I think I should just explode and perish.
Mm,
So dramatic that, it's so. And then Charles Darwin, he had his walking path, when he was working out the theory of evolution, he walked round and round his path, and he very clearly saw the link between his brain working and him walking around this path.
yes,
So it's really, as I said there, tried and tested by some of the most famous minds in history. That's really exciting. I think that you, Beverly, and Mary have already experienced that creativity that happens when we're walking. That's really great. So let's get a little bit practical. If you can get your notebooks out, what I'd like us to do, and again, there's definitely no right or wrong about that. We're just playing with this whole idea of using a walk to get you unstuck. So what I'd like you to do is write in your notebook anything, any kind of problem that you're stuck on, or that you feel goes round and round and doesn't get resolved. It might be a work problem, it might be a writer's block, it might be a decision that you can't make, or that you just keep on going round and round, it's not getting anywhere. It could be a difficult relationship or a family situation, a goal that you've just had in mind but you've never seemed to manage to achieve. It could be like, I don't know what to do next. You've got a new chapter in your life. It could be absolutely anything. So I'm actually going to put my alarm on for, let's put it on for 2 minutes. I think that's going to be enough. And just brainstorm. You don't have to go into massive detail, because we're going to go into a little bit of detail later. We're going to pick one of these things. Just create a list. Just literally brainstorm. I'm going to put on a little timer. There we go. I'm going to write mine as well. And by the way, if you're watching this on the replay at home, I should have said this before, do this exercise as well. If you're doing the replay, do the exercise. Okay. That is our 2 minutes. Let's just have a look at what do you normally do when you're stuck?
Feel frustrated.
Feel frustrated. Yeah, it's the feelings, isn't it? You feel frustrated. Do you tend to watch TV? Does anyone watch TV?
Yeah.
I watch TV.
Yeah.
Read a book.
Read a
Yeah,
book.
I read a book too.
Yeah. I mean, I love
to
reading.
distract yourself.
Yeah.
Distract, exactly. So,
And you can sometimes put things off as well. So sometimes I say, oh, I'll deal with it tomorrow. I'm going to go out and meet a friend today and go out for a friend today because I need to have relaxation. And then tomorrow comes and then it's something else will come up and it'll be like, oh, I'll do it the
tomorrow
next
never
day.
comes.
And then 3 months down the line, you turn around and you think, you know, you meant to have done this about 3 months ago and you still haven't done anything because you've always found something else every day.
Yeah.
Instead of that thing.
Let's see if we can move on and dig into the light bulb walk a little bit more.
Okay.
So we'll start by saying what the light bulb isn't. So it's not kind of going outside and like thinking intensely about whatever is on your mind.
Okay.
It's completely not doing that. So maybe in that sense, you might think it's like the opposite of what you might think it is. Because when you are really focusing on one thing, what you can actually do is limit the possibilities that your brain is aware of. You're kind of traveling down a very narrow path. So we're not going to do that. What we're going to do is walking gives the conscious brain something simple to do. So you're walking in nature, you've got that nice rhythm that makes you sing a song and makes you write a poem and makes you write a book. You know, it allows your thoughts to flow more freely. And if we're going back, if you remember back to that rewire, and we talked about the vagus nerve, it tones the vagus nerve. And what that does is that it allows all your senses and all the different parts of your brain to relax and start connecting with each other, which is why we can come up with new thoughts, because your brain is wiring itself in a different way. So you give your brain the question, you give your body the walk, and you give your mind permission to wander. That's the basic idea around it. So another thing, even despite what Beverly and Mary were sharing, the light bulb walk is not just for creative people. So it's not just if you're writing a book or you're writing a poem or you're writing songs, or, you know, or you're looking for inspiration for artwork. It's not just for that. It's for creating possibilities. So it's creative thinking, which is, we all think creatively. You know, we all think creatively. And I think human beings are at their best when they are thinking creatively, finding creative solutions to whatever the problem might be. You might be a creative cook. You might be a creative flower arranger. I mean, we just all have creativity. So, you know, in work, you can be thinking, how can I approach this task differently? Or like Mary was saying, You know, if you're writing a book, what can happen next in my book or my project? Or when you're thinking about decisions, you see, I'm always thinking about my decision, or the thing I'm always thinking about is, where am I going to live? Because I've always had this dream of living outside of London. I'm like, that's me with the options. And so I spend my whole time thinking about, oh, what would it be like if I were here? What would it be like if I were there? And it's quite a nice way where you can just play. You can just, maybe you can call it dreaming. You know, there's a little bit of dreaming involved, and sort of fantasy, and just playing and being creative in that sense. A bit like, as we've talked about before, being childlike, and walking can really bring out that childlike creativity. And they always say about children, they're really good at lateral thinking. You know, they don't have to think logically like we do.
Yes.
They're thinking very laterally, which is why they can come up with sort of interesting solutions. And that's exactly what we're trying to encourage when we're walking, is that lateral thinking. So yeah, so it's all about creating possibilities, which is a great way to live, I think. So how do we do a light bulb walk? It's really simple. We've kind of discussed it already. So you can choose something that you're stuck on, or just choose something you're dealing with in that day. And it doesn't have to be big. It could be anything. Could be, where am I going to go on holiday? And a nice way to start is maybe just to write it down in your journal. Just a few words about, you know, what it is. So it's kind of lodged in your brain. And then just go for your walk. And you don't have to think about it. You don't have to consciously think about it. Although sometimes what I do is, when I'm going on my walk, I might just ask a question to the air. You know, I might say, I'd really like to know, what should I do about this? Or can you give me a good solution to that? And I'll just say it out loud, and then I'll forget about it. So depending on what kind of personality you are, you might like to just sort of ask your question to the trees or the sky, or I quite like doing that. I just like voicing it in the air. And don't force an answer. Obviously, don't listen to a podcast or anything else, because that will stop your brain from wandering. And going back to what Mary was saying, if you do have that light bulb moment when you suddenly get an idea or a thought, and for me, I find they just pop into my head. It's like they've come out of nowhere. I'm like, oh, just a thought has popped into my head. Capture it. So either, if you've got your notebook with you, write it if you like to do it like that, or speak it into your phone, which personally I think is the easiest way to do it. Just record it on your phone. And then later, when you get home, a really fun thing to do is then listen to what you've recorded on your phone, and just see what comes up for you then. How has that helped? And what's your next step? One of the things to think about when you're taking your light bulb walk is what kind of question to ask. So basically, we want to ask open-ended questions. So instead of, oh, what should I do? Which it kind of demands, like, I need to do one thing. What is that one thing I need to do? It's like, oh, what are 10 things I could do? Give me the options, you know, kind of be more expansive about it. Instead of, oh, why can't I do this? Why can't I solve this? Think about, what haven't I considered yet? Let me just allow my mind to think around that. And again, not how do I fix this situation, or how do I fix this person, but what is within my control? What can I actually do within my control? So the more open-ended your questions can be, the more freer they can be, definitely without any judgment, then the better possibilities you're going to create. So try not to be thinking, I need an answer. You might get an answer, but you might not. You might just get little tweaks or thoughts or pathways or directions that help you work out your problem. So this is basically what you need to do. What am I stuck on? What is the question that I'm taking for for my walk. It's a bit like, think of it like taking a question for a walk. And going back to what Hilary was saying, I think this is really important. What would becoming unstuck allow me to do or feel or change? And I'll give you an example from my personal life. So something I've really been stuck on is writing a book. So I've written the book. I've literally written it, and I've had it edited once. And all I need to do now is to go through it again and kind of re-edit it, because I noticed there are some things that are duplicated throughout the book. But I have not done it for a year now. I can't believe I've sat on it. I've sat on it for a year. So that's the question I'm going to be taking out is, why can't I finish this book? What's stopping me? Give me some ideas. What can I do? I'm going to be taking that out for me. So what I'd like you to do tomorrow, if possible, is to look at that list of things that we did earlier about things that we're stuck on, and just take one thing. It doesn't really matter. It can just one thing that kind of leaps out on you, and have a quick look at it. Maybe write a bit more. What is it about this thing? You know, how does it make you feel? What is the question you want to take on your walk? And what would becoming unstuck allow me to feel or do or change? Which is kind of like we were talking right at the beginning of the program about the things that we didn't like in our lives, the things we wanted to change. And we asked, what is the cost of not changing those things? And we're kind of asking the same thing. What is the cost? For me, like, what is the cost of not finishing your book? You know, and there's a lot of costs, actually. There's just that feeling, you know, when you really have set yourself out to do something and you haven't done it, it's quite demoralizing. And I think it saps my confidence a bit. So that, you know, there's a big cost in me not finishing that book. So yeah, take those questions out with me. You know, what's the question I'm taking out for my walk? And just consider, what would becoming unstuck allow me to do, feel, or change? And then if you can do that tomorrow, that's the challenge. Post in school what happened. And it could be, look, Harriet, nothing happened. I got no answers at all. You know, c'est la vie. That might be the case. But probably something will happen on your walk, because there's not many walks that nothing happens on, is there? Even if it's just, I saw some beautiful trees. Well, something always good happens on a walk, I think. So one final thought is that your daily walk isn't always taking time out of your kind of everyday life. It can be the place where you work out how you want to live. And I can definitely say, for me, over my 4 years of walking every day, I should say every plan that I've ever made in the last 4 years has really been thought out when I'm walking. That is where I do my planning, and that's where it's where I feel the inspiration is coming from me, if you know what I mean. It's not coming from fear, or it's not coming from panic. It's coming from some sort of feeling of relaxation and abundance and solidity in nature, and the mind being allowed to roam freely and dream and be playful. So think about your walk as the place where you're going to work out how you want to live. So let's quickly look at what we're going to do this week. This week's challenge: walk every day. Obviously, goes without saying, schedule in one light bulb walk. Okay, so if you can do it tomorrow, great. I'm going to definitely do one tomorrow, and post the results in school, okay, so that we can all see them. Obviously, if it's really, really personal and you don't want to post it in school, don't post it in school. But if you're happy to share them, do post it in school. But keep up the other walks. Has anyone been doing the Pilates arms, by the way?
I have a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, great, great. I've been doing that as well. I really enjoy doing it. So funny. I absolutely enjoy doing it. And I really find that it, especially if I've been sitting at my desk, it really gets the heart pumping again, and without in quite a gentle way. And I can feel it in my arms. So it's great. So keep up those walks, the interval walk training. Obviously, that's really, really good for building up your muscle, building up your cardiovascular strength, and supporting fat loss around your waist. As Linda was always saying, has already been saying it, she feels it's strengthening her core muscles, which is great. The stress buster walk, keep doing that. The walking meditation, I have enjoyed that so much this week. I've done it almost every day, I think, and it's really settling in now. I'm really, really enjoying that. But just keep on finding a way to put all of those walks into your schedule. Keep adding your daily steps. Oh, who has put in their average daily steps today? Anyone?
Not yet.
I know Linda has put them in on the school group.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, try and do that by the end of the day.
Yeah.
Just so that we can keep that momentum going.
I've got to go to Tesco's yet.
Oh, you've got to go to Tesco. Fair play. Haven't finished the day yet. Still steps to come. Yeah, I mean, it's like all of these things with habit. It can sound a bit ruly. Oh gosh, it's a rule. We have to do our average steps every Tuesday. It can get heavy. But the thing is, as soon as you start not to do these weekly or daily habits, they just go out of existence.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you're back at square one, which is where we do not want to be. We want to be back at square one, because everyone has worked so hard. We're coming into the 5th week. Everyone has worked so hard. Just to remind you about our community, celebrate our wins. Just any little win you have, put it on the school group so everyone can see. It's so inspiring. Ask for help. Again, you can ping me a question on the school group or on WhatsApp. Just ask for help. Or it could be you could ask for help from the whole group as well. Obviously, don't compare yourself with anyone else. I mean, we've got Mary's writing her book while she's walking. We've got Beverly writing songs while she's walking. But if you don't write a book or write songs, don't feel that means anything. It just means that you're not writing a book or writing a song right now. And we build together, and I really do feel that. I feel everyone is really building together, and I'm just so impressed with everybody. Just your commitment, your level of commitment is fantastic. And, the results are being seen. As Hillary was said, people are beginning to say, you're looking really well. And the thing is, Hillary, the reason why they may be seeing that and you're not is because you see yourself every single day. They may not see you every single day. So they're noticing the change.
Yeah.
But the change is just tiny incremental things. So we don't notice it. So listen to them speaking the truth. And last thing I always like to end is 90 days from now. It's not 90 days now, is it?
Oh.
On October the 11th, the cohort will come to an end. And we want to be able to say, this has marked the beginning of a new chapter in my life. And to be fair, I feel like it's marked the beginning of a new chapter in my life already. What we don't want to be saying is, I wish I'd taken it more seriously. Okay. But as I said before, everyone is so committed. I don't think that's going to happen. Just to remember always, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Linda was already sort of spoken at the beginning of this session about how she didn't think anything was happening. And now finally things are beginning to feel a little bit different. So it's a marathon, not a sprint. Success is the product of daily habits, not once in a lifetime transformations.
Yeah.
I know I say this at the end of every single webinar, but it's so important to remember it. Whenever you feel discouraged, success is the product of daily habits, not once in a lifetime transformation. So if you're doing it every day, it will have an impact.
Yeah.